Solopreneurs, your clients are not rejecting your prices because you have a pricing problem. They're rejecting your prices simply because you have a value communication problem. They think you're so unclear about what it is that you're delivering. They think you're so vague. They think you're so generic in whatever it is that you're promising to give them. And above all, they get to feel like your prices are too high. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a system that is going to help you make your clients get to instantly understand the value that you deliver in the marketplace with one goal in mind, to get them to instantly get to say, yes, I get it. If you're watching me for the first time, I'm Alan. I hope solopreneurs and early stage founders get to price with clarity, control, and confidence. Before I get to give you the system, we need to understand why is it that clients don't get to see our value. And in most cases, most solopreneurs get to fall under the following traps I'm going to mention. So the first one, you get to talk processes and not outcomes. And remember, when clients come to you, they don't expect to be sold on the processes, all right? What it is that interests them is the outcome that they are going to get by working with you. So every moment you get to talk processes instead of outcome, then it is one thing that is going to make clients not to see the value you're going to deliver to them. And the second trap most of you get to fall into is you use vague deliverables. That is from strategic calls, from the support system you provide, and then the coaching. They don't get to see the outcomes. In other words, all the support you give them is kind of vague. It doesn't promise, it doesn't get them to reach the goal that they want to have. Then the third trap is you're trying to sell them on hours and not on the transformation. This is somehow related to talking processes and outcomes. But for this case, you're selling them by hours. An example would be, you told them, I'll get, for 2 hours, I'll charge you this. But that's not what they want. Instead of you trying to sell them on hours, try to sell them on transformation. An example of that would be, I'll get you from 0 to 100 so that you start earning this and this amount of money for a price of this. That one is way more better, is way more promising, and is way more achievable, in that they'll get to stop and see your value. But the most mistake you get to make is you try to sell them on hours instead of the transformation. And then lastly, you're under positioned. I previously made a video about positioning. So for this case, you don't know where you get to set yourself. And some of you are positioned in the markets that don't get to match whatever value you're trying to put in the market. Others are in position in the markets where it's not even payable, it's not even profitable to run business in that. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself, why is it that clients don't get to see my value? Well, if that's been the question, you'll have it. I've already given you the common traps that most solopreneurs get to fall into. And here's a contrarian truth I want you to understand. Clients are not stupid, they're just confused. A confused client easily defaults to the cheapest option there is in the market. So as a solopreneur, your job is just to remove the confusion, but not to lower the prices. And the easiest way you're going to achieve this is by using the system, which is the value translation loop system. If you're wondering what this system is simply a 4-step messaging system that easily gets to turn your work into tangible outcomes, into valuable results, into clear before and after sales, into measurable improvements, and lastly, into simple explanations. If you are to put it otherwise, it is a loop that gets to make clients get to come from I don't get it to yes, now I get it. Now let's get into the details of what this system is. But as earlier mentioned, that this is a 4-step messaging system that gets to turn your work into tangible result, simple explanation, easy measurements, and all that. Now let's get into the details of each and every part of the loop system. To start off with is the pain. Consider this to be the first step or the starting point of the loop. And to be honest, this is where 90% of all the conversation should begin. And to address this towards your clients, this is where you get to say the following. Okay, here's where you are, here's what's not working, and here's what you've tried. So basically what you're getting to do here is you're trying to describe the kind of pain as best as you can, so that it is easier for them to get to say yes, or it is easier for them to understand the kind of situation they are in right now. If I'm to combine all these 3 statements, I would say, okay, based on what you've shared, here's where you are right now. You are underpricing. And the reason why that is because you can't get to explain your value to your clients. You can't make your the value clearly get to be understood by the clients. Maybe it's because you're underpricing. Maybe it is because you're um, not well positioned. Maybe it's because you're selling hours instead of the transformation. Yeah. So probably you've tried many means to find means of how you get to price normally, or find means of how you get to price at least higher so that you get to make a profit, but none of them gets to work. As simple as that. Now we head over to the next step of the value translation loop, which is the break. Now, this is something that is very important. Most of you solopreneurs, you tend to skip this part, but this is the most important part of all the 4 steps in the system. You get to really explain the root cause of the pain that they have previously. And the reason you get to do this is it gets to position you as an authority. It's like they get to understand that, this guy really knows what it is that he's talking about. Why? Because now you're in a clear position of stating why they're in the state in which they are in right now. And in most cases, it doesn't really take a lot of words to say. An example of the words you could say, you could tell them that here's some of the basic reasons that's why you're in the state in which you are in. So using our previous example of underpricing, here's the reason as to why you're really underpricing. It is because clients are not seeing your value. Why are they not seeing your value? You go back and state the common traps that most solopreneurs get to fall into. And that is, you talk processes, not outcomes. You're simply selling hours, not transformation. You're underpositioned. And then maybe you're using vague deliverables. Maybe try and change the deliverables. Now, the third step into the value translation loop is the bridge. So this is the part where you bring in your system to try and fix the issues that they get to have at a particular moment. So put other words, this is the part where you introduce your mechanism of how you get to fix the problems they get to have, of how you get to fix the state in which they are in right now. And in most cases, your mechanism can come as a framework, your mechanism can come as a tool that is going to help them transform their results. Maybe if you're using the example of undercharging, it may come as a framework that is going to help them to increase their prices. It might come as a tool that is going to help them try and triangulate what it is that it is wrong with their pricing. For my case, it is the price it right signature method, the one that you get to see up there. And the best way you're going to deliver this line is by saying, now we know the pain, we know the root cause. Here's what I'm going to do for you. Or you would say, here's a system that I believe is going to fix the problem that you have. If it is undercharging, as we had as an example, you would say, here's a system that is going to help you price it right instead of underpricing. And then the final step of the value translation loop system is the new future. At this step, if you've previously done all these 3 steps, right, then at this moment, your prices gets to become irrelevant. Because what gets to happen is that you now start painting the future or the desired future state of what your clients would want to have. Basically, like trying to show them some upgraded reality of the state they want to live in. Yeah? If it is underpricing as the terrible state, you try to paint them a future where their businesses is no longer undercharging. Yeah? And for you to deliver this line, you would say, here's what's going to become possible. You'll be able to get clients to your value, and at the end of the time, you get to price it right, or get to charge the price that is equivalent to the value you're trying to deliver. And that's it. And probably out there thinking, how do I get to build my own self a value translation loop that gets to feed my business, not any other business, but my own business? I've got you covered. I'm going to show you how you get to build your own value translation loop using the 5-step process. The first step of the process is to get to define the pain that your clients are going through. In order for you to do this, you need to get a piece of paper and a pen or whatever journaling app you have on PC or phone, and then get to write down what problems is it that your clients are facing. If it is just you, write down all the problems your business is facing. It could be you're undercharging, people are not seeing value. When customers come, they don't get a return. Write all those problems. If you're a coach, business coach or business strategist, get to write down all the problems your clients get to face just as they say them to you. It might be like, oh, my clients are not always coming back every time they buy. Maybe my clients are always haggling. My clients want discounts. My clients are, they don't get to see the real value. Write all those problems as they're being told to you. Now, the second step of the process is to label the root cause. Yeah. So this is where you're going to position yourself as an authority. This is the place where you're going to position yourself as an expert. A pro tip here is that never get to blame the clients. But instead, try and diagnose their issues. If it is undercharging, then try and find the real root cause as to why they're not pricing it right. And that could be maybe their clients are not seeing the value that they're trying to provide, yeah, or maybe they talk processes instead of outcomes, or maybe they get to sell hours instead of transformation. Yeah. So based on the problems, based on the pain, based on the issues that they go to tell you, try and understand the real root cause and label it down. Then at step 3 of the process, get to introduce your mechanism. So this is a part where you bring in your frameworks. It's the part where you bring in your processes. It's the part where you bring in your guidance. It's the part where you bring in all your deliverables, your mechanism that is going to help that client get to break free from whatever it is that is the root cause, from the pain that they get to have. The 4th step of the process is paint the new future. And at this step, this is where you really get to show them what gets to be possible if they get to do all the previous steps right. You show them what gets to be possible if they are working out with you. You show them, or you show yourself, because you're doing it for yourself, how the future really gets to be if you tend to do each and every step right. For instance, you could be making a lot of money. You could save yourself time. You could be able to price right. You could be able to get returning clients that always buy and come back over and over and over and over again. And then the final step is always looping it back, because trust me, problems are never ending in business. You solve one problem, another one comes in play. You solve that problem, another one pops up. So this is the part where you get to loop back to the process. Yeah, you go back to step 1 where you get to define the problem or the pain, then label it, label the root cause, then introduce your mechanism, then get back to painting them the future, and then the process continues like that. So now let's get to look at the real example of the value translation loop. Yeah, how I get to apply it for myself to help me and the clients I work with. So the first way I get to do it, I hop on a call or discovery call or whatever call, or throughout our conversation, I get to assess the following things. 1, I ask them what it is that they're finding painful in their business, what it is that is troubling them in their business, or what it is that is going wrong in whatever it is that they're doing. Maybe they respond to me by saying, oh, I really don't know how much to charge. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah? So the first step is I get to underpin the problem. They don't know how much to charge. So with step 2, I take to get the cause. I understand, I try to label out the main root cause of why is it that they don't know how much to charge. Yeah. So maybe I troubleshoot, we try to get deeper into the conversation. I probe the issue with the client, and I get to say maybe they lack the pricing structure. So I get right down. The pain is they don't know how much to charge. The root cause is because they don't have a pricing structure. And then I get to introduce in the bridge, the mechanism of how they are going to overcome the pain, and then find the pricing structure that they lack. Yeah. So all that will be in that book. So I try to give them my framework, that is the price it right framework. Then I say, you're going to follow this framework, and by the end of it, you'll have the right pricing structure and do this and that. And that is why I get to paint out the new future, is that by the end of it, by the end of you taking into action the framework or working with me, and I take you through the framework of the price it right, you'll get to know your numbers. And the moment you get to know your numbers, it will mean that you no longer get to have the cause problem, which is the lack of pricing structure, because you know the numbers. You'll be able to put up a structure, a pricing structure for you, so that now you solve the problem where you now have an idea or clear idea on how much you get to charge in your business. If you're out there and you're having the same issue, maybe probably it is overwhelming, what I've shared is overwhelming, and you want my help, just check out the link in the description. You'll find a school community where we get to discuss everything about pricing. The other thing, you can get to subscribe. You can get to sign up for the waiting list of the Price It Right book. It is coming out as early as possible. This will be communicated in future videos. But yeah, that's it.